Hello everyone! Before we get today's episode going, I have a major announcement for you guys. I, yours truly, have opened a brand new merch shop! To be honest with you guys, I was personally not happy with spring, the experience, the quality of the clothing and stuff like that. After hearing so many good words from so many other people, I decided to bring everything from the spring shop over to Fourth Wall. Fourth Wall will now be the new home for the Postmodern Art Podcast shop. You can go there today and see a wide range of incredible shirts that we've had up there before, such as the logo, the Pride collection as done by Eldritch Grandpa and Mine and Roll Tears, the wonderful retro design as done by Roya Shahidi, the incredible tag design done by the incredible Aiden Art. And speaking of Aiden Art, thanks to him, we have two new designs that you can buy right now. The first being this cute little sock where you can see a little money bags on your ankle, little cute, little adorable. Just look at the little thing. I love him. It's wonderful. But also, more importantly, if you guys pay attention to me on Twitter, a few months back I did a little contest and I did a little meme that was basically reminiscent of that classic Sonic pose of the Alone on a Friday Night thing. Well, I decided to do my own version of that, which Aiden did. And now with this new shop, I decided, let's slap that on a shirt. It looks absolutely incredible. All the shirts are using Comfort Color shirts, which are absolutely soft and amazing. I can attest to that after buying former guest Farrell Starweaver's shirt. I could not get enough of his shirt. He was telling me so many wonderful things about Fourth Wall. So many other people were talking about Fourth Wall. So I knew I just had to go there in order to sell my merch. You can go to the link down in the description below to find the link for that merch shop, or you can type post-modern-art-podcast-shop.fourthwall.com. You might want to go to that link in the description below. It's so much easier. And just to celebrate the brand new opening of the shop, if you use code NEWSHOP in checkout, you'll get an additional 10% off your order today. This deal will only be limited throughout the month of June. Sincerely, guys, this merch really does mean a lot to me. The artists that made this stuff did an absolutely sensational job, especially the ones I listed before, and Tipsy J Hearts for providing, obviously, the OG Mr. Moneybags design. And it also means a lot to me to give back to both the community and to the artists as well, with half of the profits going back to the artists that made the merch in the first place, and then for all the ones in the Pride collection, all the profits that I make from that will go directly to charities such as Lambda Literary and the Trans Lifeline. So any love and support that you can show with this podcast, any merch that you guys buy to really help get the name out there more and to really help grow this community more, you'll know how much it would mean the world to me if you go to the merch shop today. Check the link in the description below, or go to post-modern-art-podcast-shop.fourthwall.com. Just go to the link in the description below. It'll be so much easier. Everyone, and welcome to the Postmodern Art Podcast, the podcast dedicated to giving artists who are wowing the world over the platform they deserve. I'm your host, Nathan Ragland, and we've been doing this podcast for over 120 episodes at this point, and I think we can all agree that it's been quite a trip. It's been, similar to like life. As you may agree, life is like a highway. And with today's guests, they've certainly learned to ride it all night long. Today's guest is Professor Bees, an illustrator and webcomic artist with an affinity for possums, manga, and Disney and Pixar's Cars. Do you get why I made the silly reference earlier? Yeah. Now, in all seriousness, Bees was someone that Tipsy had introduced me to, and I instantly fell in love with her work, especially the artwork that she's providing, a fantastic style that you guys need to take an opportunity to see, not only past today's episode, but just any chance you can get. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and give a couple of heads up before you start today's episode. One thing I want to say is when we especially talk about the cars that she has an affinity of drawing, the conversation gets a little spicy, to say the least. I try to keep it as PG as possible. And obviously we don't go into any graphic details, but if this is something that already right off the bat you just don't feel comfortable with, I completely understand. Nevertheless, I still say you should go show some support for Professor Bees. Also, something else that I can't even fully control at this point, there's going to be a point partway through the episode to where you're going to hear a child just crying at the top of her lungs. There's nothing I can do to control that. That was my sister's kid. I don't know what was going on at that point. I try to give my guest leads a heads warning about that, and that's why I'm giving you, the audience, a heads up about that. I'm sorry if it distracts you from the conversation, but regardless of those two things possible, I sincerely think this is still a fun and fantastic conversation that you need to listen and enjoy today. If you do enjoy the conversation, make sure you support Bees with the links down in the description below. If you enjoyed the podcast, make sure you like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. Leave 5 stars wherever you can. I see that stuff, and you know how much I love it. If you want to go a little further with that support, maybe you should consider checking out our brand new merch shop on 4th Wall. We have imported all the incredible designs from spring. We have brought forth some new incredible ones, including the I'm Not Kidding tee, the little Mr. Moneybags on the socks, and the new Pansexual Pride t-shirt, which would look wonderful on you today, sincerely. And look, if all you want is a calm, cool, casual place where you can meet other artists, maybe even get a chance to chat with some of the people that you've seen on this podcast, or just, share memes and art and stuff, maybe you should consider joining our Discord server, the Artist Sanctuary. We've already developed an incredible group of people that I enjoy every single time they post something new in that server, and I sincerely think you would be a wonderful addition to that server today. But now, without further ado, please enjoy the Postmodern Art Podcast. I'll be honest, like I said, whenever I was first introduced to you by Tipsy, I'm like, oh, if their art style's cool, I'm sure once I do more research, on them, it'll be an interesting conversation. And then I did more research, and it just leaves me with more questions than answers, but that doesn't, but I also mean this in the nicest way possible. I love whatever you're doing. Like, what you're doing with the webcomics and illustrations and stuff like that, I absolutely love it. I'll just be blunt. The car stuff has me asking questions, and I'm sure you'll be more than happy to answer them.
Oh, yeah, sure. I might have answers, so we'll see how far we get.
Yeah. Now, granted, I am going to try to make this, like, the questions at the very least, like, PG-13, but, like, modern PG-13 to where it's just basically R, because as much as I want to know more details, I also like money. I don't want this episode to get demonetized on YouTube.
Oh, so no cuss words. I gotcha.
No,
okay,
no, gotcha. You can cuss. I don't give a fuck about that. Like, that, yeah.
Okay, well then, shit. All right, dog.
Yeah, cussing is fine. It's just how far in the details that we go is where I'm going to be like, okay, let's back away from that. Let's ease off of talking like that.
I gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, Bees, before we really get going, I'm going to ask the icebreaker question of the podcast, if I may. Let's say you get to go to a desert island on your own accord. It is just you, alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe. Get to truly enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded on this island. It's more or less like a resort, a vacation, just like you're getting away from everything for a little bit.
Okay, that's a big handle right there, because if we were just to stop right there, I would go insane. It was not.
I don't,
more like Castaway than anything else.
No, it's not. It's not a Castaway thing. It's just one of those, like, your own private island,
Okay.
But to help make sure you don't go completely insane just being on this little place by yourself, you could bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
One Piece? It would be exactly that. I'm just started watching One Piece, I think, and that would probably be long enough for me. Like, depending on how long I'm stuck there, that would be probably a good way to, kill time.
Fair enough. I would say it's hilarious because at the time that we're recording this, the episode that I just premiered, the guest that I had on Payroll, he has said the same exact thing, saying that he would bring on One Piece. Wow. But I mean,
dang, I take that back. Then that's not original at all.
No. It doesn't matter if it's original or not. I'm just curious, like, for you, like, because for those that may not know ahead of time, like, you're a big advocate when it comes to anime and manga and such. So why did it take you so long to actually get onto One Piece in the first place?
Dude, because I have the attention span of like a fruit fly. If it's more than 50 episodes, I'm like, I'm done. I think it's just with age. Also,
Okay.
if I got onto that kind of stuff when I was younger and had more time to kill, I would probably be on that. But
Mm-hmm.
it was never on the TV when I was in front of it, so it just never the right place, right time. And now with everything streaming and wise right at you, and you like I've already hit that stream where you watch the same thing over and over and over again to where it's like, okay, we can finally take a break. Let's start with something different. So One Piece just happened to be on my to watch list, and so I just started on that not too long ago.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Usually,
I was gonna say, and to answer a previous thing that you mentioned or whatnot, you're on this island as long as you want. So if you need to take all the time in the world just to finish up that series and really get fully engulfed with it, yeah, no, you have the time for it. Do not worry about that.
nice.
So, but nevertheless, One Piece. That is your answer. You're locking that in.
No, I take that back. Also,
Okay.
after that whole spiel, no, actually, I think what I would honestly take back just because I like the funny gags and memes. So like anything that people play on is like, oh, and like kind of a improv sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, no, for real though, the one thing I think I would take with me is this. I don't know if you've ever heard of this series, Hawk Song.
Hawk Song. The name, I feel like I've heard that in passing with my group of friends, but I do not know what it is.
I would not blame you if you've never heard of it. It was kind of an early 2000s book, and it didn't get enough like talk. I think it's like Animorphs and Warrior Cats. I think this is
Okay.
a kind of a sci-fi series that has a very very small. And even as time has passed, I haven't had any like seen anybody talk about it.
Okay. Interesting.
It was just it's a very like it hit me at the exact right time and exactly it fit all my affinities for like Romeo and Juliet sort of stories, like enemies to lovers.
Oh, okay. That's
Like
an interesting little dynamic with it.
yeah, but it does have like along with the Animorph bit, it's like a kingdom of hawk people and a kingdom of cobra people, and the king and queen have to marry sort of thing. So it's just a little different.
Okay, yeah, that does sound like unique more than anything else. I mean, like you said, I like people know about like the Animorphs or Warrior Cats and stuff like that, but essentially like having that like Romeo and Juliet thing, but with obviously like species that are known to be fierce towards one another as more or less the basis of it. That is an intriguing dynamic that I can see why you would be interested in seeing that play out.
Hmm.
But if that's the case, nevertheless, Hawk Song, that is your real answer. You're locking that in.
Yes, I am. I'm locking that in for real this time.
Then if that's the case, I cannot think of a better way to start the Postmodern Art Podcast. Welcome, everyone. I am your host, Nathan Ragland. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, or follow whatever audio streaming platform you prefer. You can support the podcast on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/PMAP for as little as $1 a month. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram at PostmodArtPod for future updates and guest announcements, including today's guest. She is an illustrator and webcomic artist with an affinity for possums, cars, and manga. Welcome to the podcast, Ayopossum, aka Professor Bees.
Hello.
Once again,
How goes it?
it goes well. It does go well. How about yourself? How does it go?
It goes to some affinity. It doesn't stop. It just keeps coming.
No, I tend to notice that as I was definitely looking through your stuff that like that what I talked about was probably the tip of the iceberg when it comes to some of the affinities that you have. But I feel like with those that would be leading to a good conversation that we can have about the incredible art that you produce. But before we really divulge to the art that you're making nowadays, I want to go back just a little bit and learn more or less the origin story of Ayopossum, Professor Bees, however you want to be addressed. What got you interested?
We can go either or.
Either or. That I love that. I love the possibilities right there. But nevertheless, I want to know the origin story. What got you interested in art in the first place?
Art in the first place. I have been drawing pretty much since I can remember.
Okay.
Like it's a very early on memory.
Okay. Do you remember some of the first stuff that like was the instant things that you wanted to that you drew in the first place?
I think it starts with how everybody starts, just like shapes and just things around me or stories that are told. So apparently one story that I think in preschool that my mom told me that happened was that I never like stopped doing what I started doing. So if, with kids, it's like, okay, you start from one subject to another or another activity, and I would throw fits to like to change. I wouldn't want to change. Like if we were saying like doing recess, I wouldn't want to come back in. Well, what kid doesn't want to come back? But then I would be like so like stuck in my ways. Like I'm in creating these worlds. Like I'm doing these like things with my little pieces or whatever. So there was a story where we were going from drawing or center time to reading time, and I didn't want to do reading time. I didn't want to sit with the rest of the kids. I wanted to stay on the table and keep drawing what I was drawing. And my teacher had sent home a note to my mother that said, hey, like she was going to get in trouble when I told her we had to sit down and read, but it turns out she had drawn like all the characters. It was a story about a family of ducks. I think it was Make Way for Ducklings. And like I wasn't watching her like show off the book like you would to a group of preschoolers, but I had drawn like a family of ducks like in my own, like just from listening to her talk about it, I had drawn a picture about it, and that was sent home with the note that was sent to my mom.
So basically, like, instead of actually going over and paying attention to the story, you had kept drawing, and your drawing was basically translating what the teacher what the story that they were teaching or that they were showing.
Right. Yeah.
That is awesome. That is incredible to hear more than anything else. Like, I can see how the instant thing is trouble, but then, like, obviously seeing that, like, no, you're still comprehending what's going on, and in fact, creatively, like, putting it into your own media. I'm sorry, right off the bat, that is cool. That is incredible.
That is a different story. I've never heard anything kind of like that. But that kind of sets the precinct of how this is going to carry on for the rest of my life, I think.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. So I have to know, like, obviously the creativity was there, like, in the forefront. When did it go from, like, a general love for art and such to a passion and potentially making it your career?
I think a few years later, whenever I was watching a Disney movie or something, and before we had DVDs, there would be like little previews beforehand, like, hey, stay after the movie and we'll show you behind the scenes of how this was made. And then
Right.
I think it was like they were working on The Lion King. It was behind the scenes of the pre-production before then, and they had like all those guys like surrounded by these storyboards, and like each little storyboard, they showed a whole wall
Right.
of it, and it's like, oh wait, that's a scene like in that part, like what, like that was like starting to be like the the incubating process of like, wait, like people like start drawing like these stuff, and then it grows into like movies, and there's like teams of people that put this together, and that was just like amazing to comprehend, like at 6 or 8 years old, like when you're so little.
Yeah, no, especially at that age, just like seeing that stuff. Because I mean, obviously anyone can like sit down and watch a movie, but it's really interesting. I was also one of those kids as well, growing up. Like, whenever we got like a DVD, I'd be more interested in seeing the bonus features and like the behind the scenes stuff more than actually watching the movie itself.
Yeah, The Incredibles especially had that with like all the Easter egg stuff, like right when DVDs were a thing too, and it's like, what are Easter eggs? Show me more. I want to watch that more than I want to watch the movie.
Right? Oh goodness, like that. It's especially like when like especially around that time when it was like that, early 2000s, like the way that those DVDs could be like really creative and really keep like even a kid's attention more than anything else with some of the cool bonus stuff that they would have.
Did you see the one through Incredibles where they're like, we don't know if this is gonna pan out, like our executive producer has come up with the whole like the whole movie in sock puppets, and they made like different colors of shades of characters for the Incredibles movie.
I don't remember seeing that one. No, that sounds incredible. What?
Yeah, there's apparently a little tiny short of like just scenes from the Incredibles, but it's done all entirely of sock puppets. And like googly-eyed little thing is the goofiest thing ever, and I love it.
I gotta find that after we get done with this conversation. That sounds awesome. So especially even at that young of an age, you knew that you wanted to get invested when it comes to art, especially seeing kind of behind the scenes stuff. So I'm also curious, where along this timeline do we start to develop that love for, manga, anime, comics, just in general? Where did that love start to grow alongside that?
Okay, so I want to say that was a little bit after, so we're following the timeline here. There was a Walden Books at my mall, and that's where I think I first came across manga. And at the ripe age of 11 years old, I picked up Chobits.
Okay.
That's definitely not meant for kids, just in context, if anyone doesn't know what Chobits is. Just like the first chapter alone is like, oh, I am learning things I probably should not be right now.
Understandable.
But it didn't stop me from coming back and like picking up something else from the bookshelves.
Right, and I can only imagine, especially with how incredible those worlds can be in mangas and such, like why you want to like keep going back and keep wanting to invest more in some of that. Can you think of some of like the first manga series and such that like truly grasped your imagination?
Oh, I don't know if Pokemon counts, but I'm gonna. It was made in Japan, so that's usually my go-to. It's like,
I usually count it as one of the first ones. That's how a lot of people got interested in the first place. So why not?
Oh yeah, there's also like Yu-Gi-Oh. I think I wasn't as into. I was more into the creatures, and if the story didn't involve the creatures in some sense, the Yu-Gi-Oh was more for like just the art of the game or the duel, and it's like not the monsters themselves didn't have character to them, so I wasn't drawn to that. But Pokemon and Digimon were definitely the top two that like really hooked me. It's like, wow, all these worlds, and it's so different from other cartoons that I've watched in the past, so that just like opened the door for me, I think.
I imagine oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I imagine it'll probably also like open the door not just to manga, but just like general like literature and like just comics in general, like what they could potentially offer even outside of what Japan had to offer.
Oh sure.
But
no,
so you go ahead.
I was about to say, like, following the train of like stuff I shouldn't have been reading. I think immediately from Chobits, I picked up Marmalade Boy, and that is like one of the tropiest little things of like a slice of life / romance manga is. I don't know if you're familiar, but
I'm not familiar, but just you describing tropiest romance, I can only imagine what it could entail.
Oh, the side character's friend is in love with the teacher, and they're both in high school, and the main characters, I think, are half-brothers and sisters, but at the very last volume you find out they're not, so it's just something I shouldn't have been reading again at 11 years old to really set the building blocks.
Huh, if only there was like some sort of label or some sort of warning to let people know, hey, kids of this age probably shouldn't be reading this. Huh, what could that possibly be? Oh, well.
Oh, you have no idea. Like, I work at a bookstore now, and there's just so many adults that like hand me books. It's like, okay, my daughter wants to check this out, and like, have you read the back of this that shows what this is rated? Because it's like, a movie or a video game where it's like, how old?
Yeah.
Is your daughter that's asking for this? I feel like I said something.
Well, I mean, like, because I imagine it's probably, like, people probably, especially adults, parents, I should say. Parents probably look at, like, manga and stuff like that the same way that parents would look at, like, animation stuff. Oh, it's that cheesy kid stuff that they're going to enjoy. Yeah, it's animated. Go ahead and watch this. And then they realize what's involved and be like, how dare you subject our kids to this? Like, no, if you take
use your eyes. I don't know what to tell you.
If you take the time to take more than 2 seconds just to look at colorful things and realize the context of it, maybe you could be a little better about it. Just saying.
Oh, it shouldn't look like that if it's gonna attract children. It's like, maybe don't look at it, I guess. I don't know what to tell you. There's stuff can look like that and be more geared for adults.
Yeah, exactly. Like, heck, some of the stuff is engineered to look like kids stuff, to parody the kids stuff for adults. I mean, that's the point of it.
I know. What is art if not, like, everybody's, like, it's not just your interpretation. It can be a whole mess of stuff,
Exactly.
Books can be deceiving.
And I'm so glad you brought up a point that I did want to bring up eventually, but like seeing how much of a love you probably had for manga and all this kind of stuff, seeing how you are now running working for a bookstore and such, it has to be like almost like a full circle moment to be like, like be working in there and like possibly influencing like the next group of people to be like, hey, this book is actually really cool, you should definitely check it out, or something along the lines of that.
Oh, absolutely. Anytime some people you only get a small window to talk to people most of the time, and some people are a little bit like, especially when you go into the manga aisles, people are always like that whole stick where people don't want to talk about it because it's either, ooh, like, I shouldn't be here, or people are going to make fun of me, or, you know, just that sort of thing. So it's always funny for me to just show up and be like, is there anything I can help you find? Like, is there a volume you're missing? And they're like, do you know what I'm, like, that's, like, it's going above and beyond. That kind of impresses people, I think, where it's like, do you know? Like, what do you know?
Exactly.
So
I mean, I can only imagine, like, especially, like, like, being that more or less, like, the first step for someone to go from just, like, breaking this kind of, like, taboo of, like, should I be able to even read this? So, like, oh, okay, this person knows what they're talking about. Oh, this is interesting. And, like, having them more or less, like, start that, like, creative path themselves. Like, again, that has to be, like, at least a little bit fulfilling at a job like this.
Oh, recommending is my favorite. It's like, hey, like, do you, like, need help, like, finding something that's kind of like what you're looking for? Like, I don't know if we have this, but here's something else that might be kind of up your alley. That's always my favorite part.
There you go. Though I'm wondering how many people would actually take the opportunity to listen to a possum, which leads to another question that I have to ask. Now, obviously, it like, I partially bring that because, like, you said, like, recommending people books and stuff like that. It immediately makes me think of the little, like, web comics you would draw of yourself recommending books to people, and, like, and, like, their reactions to some of it, whether it be at the store that you work at or not. Seeing the, like, 8 different titles of something as you're recommending someone. But I have to ask, like, as you draw yourself as a possum. What is your affinity to possums, if I may ask?
I'm white trash. First of all.
You know what? Understandable. Have a good day.
And cut.
No, but so you said first off you're white trash. Is there more to it?
For the sake of the podcast, I can make something up. But honestly, not really.
Okay.
I think I started liking them, like, man, when I was, like, a teenager, I wanted to be edgy, and I think, first of all, I really, really, really loved ringtailed lemurs. I still have some, like, webkins of some of them, and other, just, like, any plushes you could grab of, because those are, like, kind of weird creatures, right? You don't really think of that as, like, someone's favorite animal. They're very, very niche. But as I grew older, I just thought, like, man, I'm just not vibing with the lemur anymore. I think some point in, like, 2018 is when I built my first puppet possum, because I think I was online looking at, like, just plushes of possums. It's like, I think I really want to, like, get into that, but I'm not seeing any that look just like them. They're either too, like, derpy, or they look like the pet ones where they're round and kind of goofy looking. So I built my first one out of, like, foam and fake fur, and I think I used a hand-me-down pillow and fishing lure for, like, whiskers and plastic eyes, doll's eyes. And I built my first possum puppet, and that was, like, just what I played with. And I tricked my parents with it all the time, like, there's a possum out in the trash or whatever, and it would be the fake one. But then there was one time where it actually was a real possum, and my mom was, like, this close to picking it up without realizing that wasn't my puppet.
Oh my, how the turns have tabled.
Exactly.
No, that sounds hilarious, and I can instantly get the as someone that is raised from the South as well, I can understand the white trash aspect, so I get that. So going back to, like, the comics and stuff like that, like, obviously seeing how you have, like, a good strong love for art and manga and stuff like that, I'm wondering where along that path did you slowly discover the possibility of web comics? When did that start to become, like, a part of your life?
That was in high school, I think, like, sometime after manga.
Okay.
Like, once I moved on from Neopets and RuneScape, I think some of my first webcomics I was recommended to from my high school boyfriend.
Okay.
He sent me a lot of links for, like, questionablecontent.net, and there was a bunch of video game ones that were also pretty trendy at the time. And so that was, like, the first glimpse of that.
Okay. It's a good start. I mean, everyone's got to start somewhere more than anything else. Do you remember, like, was there any particular web comic that, like, even after, like, the first introduction just kind of, like, amazed you that, wow, this is something that looks like would be, like, professional, yet it's just being released online?
There was a video game one that was like it looked very clean and very professionally done.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember off the top of my head exactly. Suddenly, like after just it's blank, poof, it's gone. But they did a video game based one like every week, and so every character you is kind of like Smash Brothers, where it's like it might be your favorite character, it might be not as much, but they would do like a funny goof or gag with them, or like a whole like group with them together, and they would have also their own insert character at points, which looked like a brunette female presenting person. So it's like, hey, that's kind of like me. Suddenly I'm the character in that video game webcomic. So that one really hit close to home for me.
It just proves that, especially when it comes to white female presenting persons, representation matters, people. No, but that's it's a good. Once again, it's a good foundation for this kind of stuff. So when did it go from, again, just a general love, like discovering this kind of stuff, to realizing, hey, maybe this is something I can do?
I think I did some of my own goofy stuff with the ringtail lemur stuff in 2008, so I was about 16 or 17.
Okay.
I was part of a role-playing group for Pokemon characters and stuff.
Okay.
It was a you know the video game series Pokemon Mystery Dungeon?
Yes, I do.
It was a role-playing group that had to do with that.
Okay. That's actually really cool hearing that aspect. Was there a particular Pokemon that you represented for yourself for that series?
I was the Guildmaster Venusaur character.
Okay.
He was a very goofy character with like kind of a dark past, but on the outside he's presenting, happy, aloof, carefree, everybody's dad.
No, that's awesome. That's incredible to hear. That was more or less like the basis of the foundation and such. And like, was this something that like, because I hear role play, so I'm thinking like, was this something that was played out previously and then you turned around and like made it into a webcomic, or is this like a collaborative effort?
It was more of a collaborative effort, but it was drawn. It was a like a drawing board. So you would draw your posts. That shows like how the story's gonna go, and then in the comments you could also draw your actions, or other characters could also like join in, sort of stuff. It was a very like Tagaki E was the name of the site.
Okay.
Of the archive now, since it's no longer running, but sometimes it's very nostalgic to like see how bad I drew back then with like a very basic tablet, but sometimes even a mouse pad, like it was rough.
Once again, I said it before and I'll say it again. Everyone has to start somewhere, right? Even if it's as simple as just trying to navigate your mouse or whatnot. Or even just using the dinky mouse pad or whatnot. Again, everyone has to start somewhere. Humble beginnings. But
at the time, it doesn't feel like that. It's just like, this is the best thing I have now, and there's no way I can like top this afterwards.
In the moment, yes, but obviously, again, you definitely look back. You're like, oh my goodness, yeah, I did draw like that, didn't I?
Yeah.
But it's cool to know that obviously that, like I said, like that foundation for wanting to create like a webcomic and such like was really based like back then. So. Let's continue further down that timeline. When did it go from a general, doing this little like collaborative effort webcomic to wanting to do your own webcomic?
Oh, that was a little bit later on. I think that was after college, because I just goofed around most of the time. I didn't do as much art around then. Like, it was kind of more people I was dating at the time, and I would do funny little drawings based on that, or something to make them laugh, something to make them happy. About the time 2016, I think, is when I came across a webcomic Long Exposure.
Okay. By
Marzoid. That was like something clicked for me. It's like, oh, like you could see, I could go on to their blog and I could see what their inspirations were and how like strongly knit it was with their style and their like the evolution of the characters and the style. It was just magical, and I had to tell everybody about it in my circles. Like, hey, have you read Long Exposure? Hey, have you read Long Exposure? I need to tell you, like, stop, stranger on the street. I need to tell you. I think you would like this, please.
Look, I'm the same way with my hyperfixations as well, so I get that vibe.
And I would have to like buy everything just as like support. It was like they have shirts now, they have pins. Like, I'll eat that up.
I was gonna say again. Do you see my wall? I agree with hyperfixations and more or less supporting artists.
Oh, I get you. Yeah.
No, so that's awesome. I'm glad to know that like that almost like revitalizing, resurge you to actually like be invested in this kind of stuff. It's always cool to have that like spark of inspiration and like really get back onto something that, you know, either you previously had or like were even vaguely curious about in the past. And again, I can imagine, you know, the exposure to Long Exposure eventually led to you creating your own web comics. And let's start with your first one, or at least the first one that I found, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, My Kiwi Crush. Now, I'm curious on how this one even came to be in the first place. For those who are even curious what I'm even talking about in the first place, how would you describe My Kiwi Crush?
I would describe it as it's kind of cliche, like a coming of age story, but also like a fish out of town, like those kind of tropes. And there's werewolves in it. I don't know how to follow that up. Like, just like that.
You know,
sometimes
what?
It's like, oh, like some of the tropey stuff, da da da. But werewolf.
Yeah, but werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Now I will say, I don't think I've even gotten to the werewolf part yet. I did read a good chunk of it. I think I got at least like halfway through.
I haven't drawn it yet. That's just what's coming though. I have drawn like some conceptual of it, but I don't think it's on. I think it's hidden in my art Tumblr somewhere. But as far as the comic page though, it's not hidden. Hasn't hit that part yet.
Right, because it's still an ongoing series and such. But even then, like I just gotta say, like right off the bat, even just like the first exposure to it or whatnot, I instantly fell in love with it. I love the characters that you've developed for it and such. Having like the character dynamics alone, and like even to the part that I've read up to or whatnot, just that that wonderful friendship that the two main characters just seem to share oh so strongly. You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think we all know it's eventually coming. But nevertheless, like, again, I have to ask, what inspired you to tell this story in the first place?
Well, I think most of it was tied to Long Exposure. That one also is a kind of a, like, high schoolers. It's more of a enemies to lovers sort of story, but with superpowers. Mm-hmm. A bully and a nerd are forced to work together for a high school project, and then come across a secret lab and are dunked with radioactive juice. They have powers, and then they also fall in love. Hijinks ensues. So I kind of wanted to tell a different story, like different high schools at the time, because I think I was just out of college at that point.
Okay.
And I was like what's a story I haven't seen before, like growing up? What's a story I would have want to see, like, because I was more or less like I was homeschooled for the from 5th grade to I think freshman year of college, so a big chunk of my high school experience felt very deprived versus like what I see in media.
Okay.
So I wanted to tell a story more of like the main character also coming from that walk of life, where it's like he's kind of sheltered, kind of a weirdo, has really like fixed hyperfixations and special interests that most people would think are kind of weird, like his brother at the point. Lost my train of thought here. What inspired me? I just wanted to. They tell you to write what you know, and I pretty much told, like, I was trying to tell my story, kind of.
Okay.
With the main character, and also I've lived in New Zealand for about a year or two. And that kind of like was also a little bit different. Like, I don't see enough of just like regular news. Like, I know like the industry uses it as like their great landscapes and their web workshops and sci-fi stories. Like they utilize it so much, but not enough kind of like slice of life stuff. So I wanted to see something like that.
Right, and that was that was also gonna be like the follow-up question I was gonna ask of why you chose to have the main character make his way all the way to New Zealand, but seeing obviously that's your story, that was the thing that you knew best, having that kind of like obviously fish out of water, like going to a completely different country on literally the complete opposite side of the globe. Like I can understand how, I can see how you wanted to make that connection and make it more like a true story that you could, a true or ish story that you could tell. Obviously, I don't know how true the werewolf part is, but again, don't, correct me if I'm wrong. But like I absolutely, like I said, I love the art that you're presenting for this. I love the character dynamics that you've been presenting so far and such. Me personally, my favorite part that I've at least gotten to was, I believe, the first time that the main character got on the motorcycles. Callie got on the motorcycles and was like scared, and then one of them's like, "Hey, open your eyes," and it transitioned from the black and white you've been using to the colors showcasing the beautiful countryside and such. Like that was a beautiful touch that you did right there.
Oh, thanks. I think I also stole that little bit from Long Exposure. There would be moments where they would be all black and white, but then all of a sudden, all the like the hard hitting emotional parts were done in color, and it's like, yoink! I'm gonna take that concept. It's doesn't belong to anybody, but it's mine now for this huge theme where it's like these two characters are total opposite ends, but then once, like, whenever they're together and they do something magical, it's just there's a spurt of color and it's like a core memory unlocked sort of deal.
I mean, it was done wonderfully with what you had done. I have to know, like, so far, obviously, like I said, this is a webcomic still in development, but what has been your favorite part of this comic so far?
I love drawing Thomas. Like, I'm right now, I'm working on I think the current chapter right now is a flashback chapter. So I have to draw him young, right? I have been stuck on that chapter for like a year and a half, and I drew a picture of like current Thomas for his birthday. His birthday is like I gave all my characters birthdays, so I could like kind of remember like, oh yeah, them. I could like maybe draw something to commemorate them by. His birthday is September 21st, so anytime I hear the Earth, Wind, and Fire song, it's like, do you remember planet Earth? It's like, I have to draw my son. Where is it? Where's the piece of paper? And then I drew him, and it was like seeing an old friend again. It's like, oh my gosh, I haven't drawn you in forever.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
I can't wait for this chapter to be over so I can get back to drawing y'all.
I just gotta say, I can't imagine for most people, they hear that song and they think it's nice, cheery. Do you remember? For you, it's like, do you remember the 21st night of September? It's his birthday.
Did you remember to draw your son? Please don't forget.
Oh goodness. And like, again, like you've established, obviously you've been working at this for a while now, but I have to know that, like, especially for those that want to catch up and like see where they are at this point, what should people expect, at least, short term or long term, when it comes to My Kiwi Crush?
So my process, I think, was I was trying to see just what all my thoughts suddenly. This is why the name Professor Bees came into town.
Oh, really?
Because like I would have all my thoughts just buzzing around and it wouldn't escape my mouth fast enough. I think I just needed something like a funny little name to just encapsulate that. So Professor sounds smart, but Bees is like, what's the story with that? It's just like it's a droning sound. It's like just all these thoughts are just flying all over the place.
I did not understand why you named yourself that, but explaining that, you do not understand how much I relate to that so much. Like, your mind just has like a million different things going, and then it just, like, you try to come out, it's verbal, just blah, blah, blah.
Word vomit. It's like, I can't type this enough. Like, I can't type it fast enough. I can't speak it. I'm just stuck in this hive mind right here of my brain.
Especially, like, okay, I'll say this. Going back to the podcast recently, I have been doing, like, shorts and stuff for the YouTube channel. And one of the things I've noticed recently is that whenever I have, like, my question in head, but I cannot, like, verbally spit it out, essentially, I noticed that I have filler words in there, and especially whenever I'm trying to subtitle stuff, every time I see like or and whatnot, irritates the living fuck out of me.
Oh my gosh!
Because again, it's filler words. But back to the initial question before we had the verbal vomit, sidetrack real quickly. Again,
I immediately forgot what the question was.
Oh, that's why I'm going to repeat it. What should people expect from My Kiwi Crush?
So, I have already written out the whole story. The story has been written. I have like revised it over and over again. I tried looking up like how other people write it, and that's sort of the process. Is like you don't want to. You never. Okay, it's for people that are wanting to start the webcomics. Start with a short story, please.
Yep.
Like I'm starting. I think this whole story is going to be about 10 to 12 chapters long. Pick something a little smaller, maybe 6 or 5 or 6 chapters at the most.
Or maybe just do a one shot. Just a one shot chapter.
Do like slice of life stuff. Yeah, even then, that is fine. You can post whatever, and you can call that a webcomic. Exactly. I've told that to like all my friends that are starting on that. It's like, well, if you want to start with like a huge story, maybe like just wrestle with it for a good year and see what parts you like, write it down, and then like kind of take the pages out and reassemble like what can go here and what can be torn out and what can maybe be added on later, just like to work on later. What to expect? You expect the werewolf to come. There's been hints like with full moons and stuff. It's like, oh, you definitely know that's gonna be, and like, oh, he doesn't like certain foods. Well, that's something a werewolf wouldn't like to eat. And then even the name of one of the characters is a nod to the first werewolf in Hollywood cinema. So it's very, very subtle. I don't imagine most people will catch it, but it's kind of a nod to that. And the werewolf's going to come, and it's going to have a happy ending, and there's going to be a lot of smooching. I can't wait to draw it. So everybody, please comment and say you like it so that I can be, like, have the willpower to draw it, because sometimes it's hard.
No, trust me, I get that. I was gonna say, like, even then you talking about like, hey, the werewolf will come. Thinking back to what I've read so far, I see you sprinkling the hints in, especially like towards the tail end of the first chapter. I see the little hints that you're getting at.
I'm not writing a mystery. I'm writing like it's all on the wall. It's coming. I promise. I'm not a great writer. I just write like this is kind of like the story's gonna follow. I want to have a lot of fun characters to hang out with on the way. It's gonna be a good time.
I can certainly hope it's a good time, especially whenever you're developing this webcomic. But I also see that obviously this isn't the only webcomic. And look, Bees, I have been nice long enough, but
I'm ready.
I have to address the elephant in the room. You have another webcomic out there, and that webcomic
I sure do.
And that webcomic focuses on a certain group of characters. If people listen to the intro, I mentioned that you're a fan of Cars. Not just any Cars. Disney and Pixar's Cars. But in a very
Cars.
but in a very special way. So I'll start by asking the basic question. What is it about Disney and Pixar's Cars that just intrigues you in the first place?
Why the fuck out of all the stuff ever, why is it Cars? Why does it have to be Cars? This is a question that people want to know. Why the fuck did you choose the Cars? Well, dear listener, worry not. I'll tell you exactly the whole story.
Okay.
So back in 2020, everybody was having kind of a bad time. And so was I.
Yeah, I was like, just a little. I can only imagine, a certain event going on in the world that kind of had people just a little stir crazy.
Oh, dear listener, that was just the tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
I, on the other hand, in my little corner of the world, I was going through whiplash after whiplash of just people dying around me that I loved, and some people that weren't dead but just wanted to cut off relations to me.
I see.
That I didn't want them to be cut off. That just broke my little heart. And I was kind of in a spiral where it's like, I don't want to draw anymore. All my dreams are dead. Nothing's going to be safe in the world ever again. Give up on my dreams. Everything is falling. Everything is just, there's no point. Just real bad times. And I think I have no idea what the initial start of it was. I think maybe I've seen someone else drawing a human Lightning McQueen. The concept of Jajinkas and stuff, where
right.
People take...
You go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, if one of us doesn't explain it, it's the art of like taking a character that doesn't have a anthropomorphized form and giving it that. So with that had roots with my Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
Right.
role-playing group. I've left the part where it was anthropomorphized. We took Pokemon and we drew them as human.
Okay. I was going to say, it's funny enough, it would not be the first time on this podcast that we have had human Pokemon. I had the artist Southpaws a while back, and like if you know her, one of her like drawings is like the anthropomorphized like Butterfree and like some of the Pokemon that she has drawn and such, which is absolutely stunning.
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
So okay, so that's where at least like the human concept gets its roots from. But again, we still haven't fully addressed the cars in the room.
Well, as you know, Cars is about cars.
Right.
Who drives them? No one knows. You know how I figured it out? I made humans that are anthropomorphized versions of said cars.
Mm-hmm.
So I took our sweet little Owen Wilson boy and just like molded him. I just absolutely squished him down to like the essence. Like, what is he? Well, in my interpretation, he's a little slut. He's a little twink. And he don't deserve nothing good that's coming toward him.
I didn't expect you to be so blunt with it, but you're completely right. Go on.
Like, I'm not sugarcoating it. He is what he is. If you see him on screen, that's exactly how I'm drawing him. I am right, is what I'm saying.
Okay, so seeing somehow the other people doing the correct me if I'm wrong, it's Jajinki, right? That's how you pronounce it, Jajinki.
I say Jajinka.
Jajinka. Sorry. Either way, but
hearing it out loud, it's just ew. Like, I don't want to talk about it suddenly. But like, that's just an online word, you know.
Either way, human cars. You saw human cars. You wanted to draw human cars. It, for some reason, something in your head, especially at that point in time, like just creatively inspired you to like go all in with that. Is there anything that you can explain why that is, or you just for some reason it's like you saw it and it's just like bam?
Well, as we've heard from earlier in the thing, most of my choices are just like, bam.
Okay.
Just do that. Just, there's no really rhyme or reason. There's no, lead up to it. It's just kind of a bam, bam situation, and it's right there. It was either that or B-movie. So, guys, let's just take a moment to reflect. We could have had a universe where I'm just drawing a bunch of slutty Benny B. Bensons, My room could be covered in yellow and black and yellow. Help a fellow. No, it is covered in lightning bolts and the colors red and yellow with a bunch of racetrack stuff all over.
Why are you giving me nightmares right now?
I don't know. I just want y'all to be grateful, I guess. Like, it could have happened, but now we're just stuck with this.
You know what? Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with it. I have seen your, obviously the human designs for these guys, and you do a great job, really, like, exuding that personality more than anything else. The only question I have to ask is, why do you have them fucking? That's not the one thing I imagine when I see cars. Why do you have them fucking?
Okay. So at first, I think I was just having fun with him. He's like, how people play with dolls and they're just like mashing stuff together, and
right.
You're just seeing like, what fun can be had with this? I'm gonna have Lightning McQueen with. Oh, no. First, it was just going to be Lightning McQueen, and I was going to call it done. I'm like, okay, I've drawn him. That's out of my system. I've drawn him. Wait, what if I want to draw more? So I think the lineup after that was I drew his trucker character, Mac, and then down the line it's like, okay, well, another week has passed. Let's draw Mater. Let's draw Sally. Let's draw Doc. Let's draw Red. Like, all the characters in Radiator Springs.
Okay.
Well, at that point, it's like, well, I'm gonna have to commit, I guess. Like, do I have to watch the second movie, the third movie? Like, oh man, I really don't want to watch that. So, I only did a few characters from each movie. I'm planning on just setting my things with just the first movie.
Okay.
To deviate from that is just too much for me right now. But why are they fucking? Because, again, to circle back to him being a slut. I had Lightning McQueen doing it with, like, the other characters at first. With Mac, with Red, now with Mater, I saw them as, like, they're too platonic. Like, you can totally pair them. That's totally fair. But in my AU, with my characters, they are best friends, and these are the rules that I play with.
Okay.
With my dolls. So, Why? Because they love each other. If you watch the movie, there is so much chemistry going on with Doc and Lightning throughout the entire thing that there ever is with the love interest that John Lasseter gives him. It's like, I see, Sally. I'm not feeling it, Mr. Krabs. There's just something about the old man on screen right now and the little rookie that's like, yes, instantly.
You know
I catch what they're throwing down.
You know what? I think I'm gonna I think I'm finally doing what I've been wanting to do with this podcast and kind of just opening up your mind and poking around in your brain to see how exactly it works, and I'm amused to say the least. I mean,
I'm glad.
I mean, if nothing else, I will say, like, obviously when it comes to this kind of stuff, I'm not going to be completely repulsed by it. I mean, obviously it's great art in the first place. It's wonderful how you're able to portray this kind of stuff to the point to where you've really gone down the rabbit hole with this AU and started another webcomic with this Mountain Strawberry. Now, what made you decide to go from just, drawing these characters out, like drawing the human versions of it and whatnot, to setting up a completely AU for them and making a webcomic out of it?
Well, first of all, I don't want to draw cars at all.
Okay.
I really don't want to draw cars. You can hold a gun to my head and tell me to, and it's like, I guess to pull the trigger, I can't do it. So I was trying to just feel like, well, I've got these characters now, what do I do with them? What's the most logical step to take after you make all this characters? Maybe make up a story to go along with them. So I was rattling in my brain, I could do the whole Cars movie, but with humans, but then that just leads up to the question of how did some stuff in the movie that worked for Cars, because there's a whole team. If you watch the Cars commentary, there's a whole design team that's what's the inside of Cars made out of? Are there intestines, organs? What's the tongues and teeth made out of? It's these are asking too many questions. Yes, that I don't want to delve it. That's a whole rabbit hole that I don't want to delve into. So I was trying to pull it away as maybe not Cars, not modern 2006 Cars, because there are some problems that could have been fixed had he had a cell phone or fingers. So I tried to pull it away a little bit farther. It's what's the most desolate besides the desert? How about the Wild West? I love drawing horses. I'd rather draw a horse than a car. So, took the setting of Cars, plopped it in the 1800s in the Wild Wild West. That is what Mountain Strawberry is, and they are gay.
Yep, they are. Trust me, there was no denying that part. But I have to say, just immediately, especially with what little bit you've been able to present so far, with the exception of the Patreon bit, I have not subscribed to your Patreon to see those bits. But what you have been able to present, though, I honestly cannot get enough of it. I love how you've been able to kind of recontextualize and retell this story and show these characters especially with how even though they're humans, still how animated you made them. My biggest thing that I love about your webcomics, at least with Mountain Strawberry, I love the special facial expressions you give Monty McQueen, Lightning, we'll just call it Lightning. Especially the facial expressions where the eyes bug out, or the special star eyes or whatnot. Every single time I see one of those faces, I cannot stop laughing because I fucking love it.
Every time I see that on anime or manga too, it's I love seeing that expression. That's my juice and jam. Give me more of those bug eyes. They are. I think that was also an early. I remember that happening a lot in. Back when I read Rurouni Kenshin, there was a lot of those bug eyes, just circle eyes next to each other, and Yu Yu Hakusho and Sailor Moon, early 90s had a lot of those bug eyes. We need to return back to the bug eye days, folks.
I'll agree to that. Now, obviously, at this point, even though this is a concept you've been toying around with since 2020 and such, you've really have been, getting the wheels turning, especially as of late when it comes to Mountain Strawberry. So, obviously, I feel like we're still at least in the first act when it comes to this. What should people expect from Mountain Strawberry? I'm afraid to ask this question, but what should people expect from Mountain Strawberry?
Oh, there's gonna be so much fucking in this one. I can't wait. But there's not much that I I left some like pockets like within each a few pages. There's like some that are going to be involved on my Patreon page where it's like, oh, in the main story, you can choose to like read it and not be, if you like, there's a lot of fans that are like super car hards where they like are totally against the idea that when they come across my account, it's like, why'd you make the cars gay? Like, why is this, why are these two together? Like the age gap. It's like, guys, people with age gaps exist. They're not children. You're being weird about cars. Imagine being weird about cars. Let me have fun. But when it comes to Mountain Strawberry, there are little like windows or like choose your own adventures where you can choose like if to subscribe to my Patreon. There's going to be like, they're obviously leading to fuckery, but if you choose not to, you don't have to subscribe to Patreon, or later when I publish it, it'll all be together. But so if you should choose, that it's the option is there. So later on, it's pretty much, if you know this plot of Cars, the film Cars, like the guidelines, like they're gonna meet with this character and that character, but since it's Wild Wild West, there's going to be a few roles switched around. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some that match around more to like cowboy stuff. Yeah, I guess that's it as far as what, especially knowing me.
Yeah, fair enough. And I just gotta say, first off, the fact that there's the phrase car hards, it's just hilarious just to hear on its own. But I just gotta say, like, it's not even so much like, whether or not they're gay or the age gap that I'm concerned with. It's the fact that you just took Disney and Pixar's Cars and just made them fuck. Like, come on. Like that.
I mean, we've already seen people, like, draw. Like, there's some floating around with the actual cars getting into some raunchy stuff. And it's like, yeah, but, like, what if I made a whole character out of them and a personality and, they're doing what we should be doing? With our, like, body parts, I don't know. This is just an extra level of thinkery that's going on that most people can't concept.
I mean, like, yeah, at the end of the day, like, this is the internet we're talking about. Rule 34 is a thing for a reason. So, I mean, I shouldn't be too surprised. But nevertheless, like, even then, like, you could, like you said, like, yeah, your Patreon has the extra spicy stuff to say or whatnot. But even then, like, just having the baseline story as it is without the spicy stuff per se, like, it's really well told so far, especially with that different aesthetic of the Wild West and, having the different aspects, like being translated from, car Lightning McQueen to human Monty McQueen. Like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I absolutely love what you've been able to present so far, and it makes me intrigued and excited to see what's next with this, with My Kiwi Crush, with whatever you decide to do with webcomics and such. Like, even thinking to, like, what we've talked about so far and the stuff you have been able to present, whether it be the stuff that you did back then when you were online, making the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon comic, to, like, having that resurgence of making art these days and continuing with, like, My Kiwi Crush and the car stuff and Mountain Strawberry. Does them, like, especially seeing how much people have been able to cling on that stuff, like, are you surprised with more or less the community you've been able to cultivate from this stuff?
I'm very shocked, to say the least. Like, I was drawing this for me, and y'all just happened to be in the vicinity of me having things. Like, I came in, like, in the words of Miley Cyrus, I came in like a wrecking ball, and I forgot the rest of the words. That's all that I got from that. Yeah, I'm just amazed, pretty much. There's, like, on my Patreon especially, there's a option to join a Discord, and there, like, I've already made a few friends with the Patreons itself. It's like, they are so tight knit. The people that are into the gay car stuff, because I was also, like, I'm not the one to pioneer it. There's been some artists already that have made, like, their own human Lightning McQueens, and there's a fanfic writer that I follow, Objectless Lessons, that have written at least 35 different fanfics with just the Cars universe with Doc and Lightning. Yeah, so if you have a night free and are in the mood for reading some spicy stuff, that's where I would point you at, because someone did that to me, and it's like, oh, At first, I was just like Lightning McQueen was just anybody I threw him at. Now he is strictly with Doc because of this writer. It's just amazing how like, and then we became friends after that. It's like, hey, I like your fanfics. Here's my art with my character renditions. What do you think? And now we're best friends. The car franchise is very strong. It's very small, but it's strong.
It's amazing how close knit a community like that of car enthusiasts, to say the least. It's amazing how close knit that community can be. To say. But
the car artists or the cartists are also like, we all know each other pretty much, or in some length. It's like, oh, I love what you're doing with the character, or oh, I like this. Can I like make my own character? It's like, sure, there's no rules. Like just draw whatever, man. We'd love to see it. We eat it up.
Well, there you go. I mean, even then, like, just thinking like even broader than just the community you've cultivated, just like the journey as a whole that you've had from starting out wanting to, just drawing stuff, even if it's like what your teacher had said, to where you are right now, to where like you're invested in art and literature and stuff like that, whether it be working at the bookstore or making these incredible web comics. Does it amaze you how far you've been able to come along, especially as an artist?
I'm pretty amazed of where I am right now. Like, you could not have told me back when I was in high school, just figuring things out, like, you are going to make so much money drawing these two particular characters that are, like, technically not your OCs, but they're your OCs of them fucking. Because, it's hard to get your own, like, people invested in your own characters. You know that, like, old saying, like, draw fan art, that'll make you more popular, I guess, than making your own characters, but piggybacking off of a character like franchise, that's a life hack I was not expecting to take that. So if I had listened to my teacher back then in preschool, we would have been in the situation where maybe it would have been B-movie stuff, and I would have to have a whole nother like delude of like this rabbit hole, like where my life is taking me and how can my problems be solved, like as a bee versus like a person. Would they be person size? I don't know. Look, the wild, tricky, what we call life.
Yeah, no joke. Look, at this point, you've teased it enough. At some point in the near future, you have to do Sexy Barry B. Benson. You've teased it enough at this point. Like, you have to.
I already did. He's somewhere on my profile, floating around somewhere. I just don't bring him up ever. It's just funny to talk about.
Okay, now I'm scared because that's research I gotta do at some point. Anyways, no, but like. Even then, like, going back to obviously the journey question, think about how much you've been able to develop so far. Like, what personally do you want to see happen next with you? Like, what would you like to see, at least in the short term future? Like, whether it be with like the web comics and stuff, or something else. Like, what are some of the what are you hoping to accomplish next?
Well, first of all, or like the very top of my priority list is to finish one of the webcomics, because something else they don't tell you is that when you're doing a webcomic is don't start another one right in the middle of another webcomic that already has like a whole written out story, because then I had to do all that research again. It's like, we already did the song and dance and you haven't finished the first one. Like, don't do that, kids. Don't do that. Not unless you love hating yourself and having to plot like all this like time tracks and stuff that follows along with it, if you want to keep the hype for it alive. I would like to also like work with a team, not on my works, but like just any at some point.
Fair enough. I mean, especially like I said in the intro, being an illustrator and a webcomic artist, I can only imagine if you had the opportunity to like be an illustrator for a book. I can only imagine that could like truly like be like the icing on the cake of this interesting life you've gone down so far.
I would love to do also like character. That's also on my list of things to do, is to do character designs for Hawk Song.
Oh, there you go.
All the way back for that thing, because I've already seen like Animorphs is getting, or it already has now, graphic novels of the first few books.
Okay.
I haven't started reading them because I've already lived through them, and sometimes your imagination does wonders versus what a graphic novel kind of tells you.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it would be. I want more people to talk about Hawk Song. I need people to talk more about Hawk Song so I can finally have someone to talk to about it.
I feel like there was at some point, I feel like there was a Hawk Song like animated project. I feel like there was one like being developed out there and such, similar to how there's like a Warrior Cats animated project as well. I could be very wrong.
Oh.
I could be very.
I was about to say that community is super huge and very complex. I would be shocked if I were to find one amongst that.
I was gonna say I at least know of the Warrior Cats animated project because I've actually had the team behind that project on the podcast itself. So
that's awesome.
I know that, but I feel like they had mentioned like a Hawk Song project, but I could be wrong. It could be a different series as well. Again, I could be very wrong. Please correct me in the comments below if I am.
And then direct me towards them so I can help them out. I would love to be on that.
There you go. Well, for this next question, maybe you could help out with that and maybe a little bit more. Because for this next question, if I may, I want to give you more or less the dream scenario, Bees. Let's say I come up to you and like, look, Bees, we've seen what you've been able to do. And we think it's absolutely incredible. Like the creativity you have flowing from this stuff and the scenarios you've been able to cultivate so far, it's absolutely amazing. We feel like you could just go a little bit further. You just need, a little push, a little platform to help get you to that next point. We have access to anyone and everyone in whatever industry possible, and more money than it should be possible. We should probably be doing a good job maybe compensating those writers that really need those, paychecks and pensions and all stuff like that. We'll focus on them in a little bit, we promise. Right now, we are focusing on you and you alone. If given this opportunity, what would be the dream Professor B's project?
It would probably be the actual retelling of Cars as human, but with anime and much more like adrenaline, like car racing sort of things. Have you ever seen the 2000 movie Speed Racer?
I have seen that 2000 Speed Racer movie.
Have you seen that animated film Redline by chance?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, that one's like not as well known. It's kind of like a interstellar car race.
Okay.
Basically, but it's very like high octane like racing movies. But it's animated, and it took it's a 7-year project that finally it was in development hell forever. But
oh, wow.
It's not very well known, but I love watching it. It's a lot of fun. Same people I think that worked behind Space Dandy and
okay.
Cowboy Bebop, I want to say.
Okay, fair enough.
So it's very zany, just to have a baseline for it. It's very wacky, and I love it. Like that, but with like high animated race car stuff, like not Pixar family friendly. I want the cars to fuck, basically. Animated car fucking, please. As humans, not the. I
was gonna say, like I think.
Not the Rule 34 jokes car. No, I want the human ones.
I was gonna say because now it has my mind thinking like the stupid question like, would you consider rear ending like car sex, or was that something completely?
Are the tailpipes buttholes or penises? I just don't know.
Okay, we're going way too much down a rabbit hole that I did not even want to go on in the first place.
Welcome to my life. Welcome to my life. I think about it every day.
Okay, but back to the original point. But basically, high octane anime version of like your human cars, basically just like make that the reality, make that the actual thing.
Yes, it would be. I think we would call it Cars also, so that people buying it at like Walmart, would be like, I want to buy this, but not for my child, like clearly, because that would be another like whole can of worms that I gotta deal with. That's like, oh, that's actually for adults. Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have made that connection. But then again, they're not cars. What do I call it?
I would probably stick with the Mountain Strawberry, title, just to make sure that there isn't that confusion, and then just have people pop that like the weird like fast. Fun fact: this is actually based on 2006 Cars. People are like, you're joking? No.
No way. Wait, that's Doc Hudson. Wait, what? he's not Dad. He's Grandpa. What?
Oh goodness.
That would also be a fun project, though. Like, can you imagine, like another Western anime, like Trigun's already getting a huge comeback.
Yeah, no
now.
joke.
Cowboy Bebop, that, but with cars,
Yep.
but they are humans and cowboys, and in the olden time, that'd be great. I'd love to see that animated.
You know what? Honestly, just out of curiosity, I would love to see that just fully animated. But sadly, we gotta get down from the dream scenario. We gotta get back to reality, and I'll ask the ever so generic question: Where do you Where do you hope to see yourself, say, 5 to 10 years from now?
That is a really good question. Since there's I think I would like to live around the North Pacific West. That's where I was born. That's some of where my roots are, pretty much, is that area. And then in the story of Cars, he wants to get from wherever he is to California for his big race. And in the Mountain Strawberry, there's the same concept where he wants to get from one point to California for his big race, but then ends up realizing, down the line, competitions aren't, small term goals aren't, forever sort of thing. You gotta look at the big picture.
Right.
So sometime in the future, I would like to move back to the North Pacific West where I was from, because right now I'm living in Texas, and that's been fun, but I don't want to anymore.
I can imagine with how much of a cluster it could be at times in Texas. Yeah, I imagine I want to get away from that.
Oh yeah.
No, yeah, that's fair. That's understandable, and hopefully you'll get an opportunity to continue telling incredible stories no matter where you end up.
Oh, definitely. It's not a high dream. I'm not so sure as far as that. I would like to, just finish the comics, see where that might take me from there. Make some really high quality pieces that I could probably put in a portfolio to show off. That'd be great.
Well, there you go. I mean, I imagine with the stuff you have right now, you could probably put together a pretty solid portfolio, especially with some of the character studies that you have.
Oh, absolutely. Now it's just a way of putting clothes on them that I can just figure out.
Fair enough. As we start to wind down the interview, I just have one last question I want to ask you, Bees. Obviously, like I've said a million times over, you've been deeply entrenched in art for as long as you can remember. How important is art, not just for you, but for the world as a whole?
I love advocating for everybody to get involved in art, no matter what your experience level is, no matter your skill level. If it's something that intrigues you in just the slightest, or something that you wanted to look into, absolutely go for it. If this is the push you need, then I'm telling you right now, do it. Look into it, see how it works. Pick and poke at the insides a bit and see if it's something you want to follow through, or maybe it'll change your life like it did with me. Whether I wanted to or not.
I mean, I would like to think, especially in the long run, it worked out for the best more than anything else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've also been very lucky with the group of support that I've had that are either they don't support me in the traditional sense, but whenever I talk about it, they just give a thumbs up and they're like, keep on trucking, dude. You do you. They haven't said too much of a negative word just yet about it. They haven't tried to stop me.
Well, there you go. That is a wonderful way to word it, if I do say so myself. Bees, that's all the questions I have for you. I've already showered you with a whole bunch of praise, but I'm going to shower you with a little bit more because it's my podcast. I do what the fuck I want.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Bees, Tipsy was the one that initially introduced me to your stuff, and I instantly fell in love with just the art style that you presented and the more or less the fun vibe that you tend to have with your stuff. Your comics, at least to me, look like a good comfort comic, more than anything else. I could sit down, I could enjoy what you had to present, and I could feel comforted. And it may seem like I was giving you crap about the whole entire Cars thing earlier, but sincerely, what you've been able to do with Mountain Strawberry and such, I'm seriously impressed with it, being able to retell a story like that in such a unique way. I mean, I loved going heads first into that. learning about my Kiwi Crush as well. Like, I seriously want to keep my eyes glued to that one as well. Like, I seriously enjoyed getting to really go dive head first into your stuff, truly get to absorb what you're able to present, getting the opportunity to talk to you right now, getting the chance to really like understand like what is behind it, and like get to truly see how much that this heart not only has helped other people, it has helped you as well. It's an incredible story. It gives me a whole new level of respect that I thought I didn't even need to get to at some point, because I respected the art that you have presented so far. Like, sincerely, if you're looking for any sort of motivation to keep going and to keep drawing this stuff, like, just go back to this point of the episode, like, every single time, because I'm going to tell you over and over again, please keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an incredible thing that I know people are going to enjoy one way or another, and I sincerely hope that, you know, whatever comes next is going to be absolutely amazing, and I'm going to be rooting for you every single step of the way with what you're going to be doing, because I cannot get enough of it. Thank you for presenting this stuff in the first place, and sincerely, please keep up the awesome work.
Oh, thank you. They don't know how much that like just fills me with like a fire to keep doing what I'm doing. Like, a lot of people are sometimes kind of shy to share what they like, but every good comment just like, yes, just what I need.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, if you ever need that like burst of energy, just like I'm now a message away, just be like, hey, I'm a little down. You think you can like cheer me on or something like that? I will instantly do it, and I will mean it every single time. I will be 100% honest with
Hooray.
you. Because like I'd like, again, I know it seemed like I was just more or less like joking or like, you know, being BS about the whole entire Cars fucking aspect, but like
everyone does. Every time I bring it up, they're like, you do what now?
But like, even that aside, like, how can I hate it when the art is absolutely fucking great? I can't hate it.
That's always fun too. They're like, I'm so mad you made the cars hot. What the heck? I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. I guess I'm just too awesome.
It's not even like, for me. I love how you've been able to like encapsulate the personalities, like not to, like with each of your characters, like how much you've truly fleshed out their characters more than anything else, and made them like characters I could instantly latch onto and like love and appreciate for a different reason, one way or another. Like, I cannot thank you enough for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. There's like, it's amazing how much of like. You can also tell, like, through the art, like, because I think I posted it, like, through some sort of order, but you can tell, like, from the first few drawings where it's, like, really rough and sketchy to all of a sudden I'm thinking about it, and it's like, oh, my lines are a lot cleaner. I have drawn, like art beforehand to see, like, is this what I want it to look like? Because I think Mater was like one of the last characters I designed, because I just had such a vision for him. It's like, oh, it's not fully cooked yet. I need him to be absolutely perfect and not look like any other rendition that I've seen so far. It's just, I love, like, I don't know what it's called, like, just chipping away at it until, like, you find the diamond in the rough sort of thing. I love it every time it comes through, because sometimes it doesn't, but when it does, I love it. I latch onto that.
It's like whenever it hits just right. So if people are at the very least curious on all the stuff that we're talking about and why I'm gushing so much about it, go ahead and plug your stuff for the people at home.
Okay. Hey everybody, it's me, Professor Bees. You can find me online under that name, all one word. Under that, on TikTok, I'm Ayopossum, like Ayopossum. I usually do a lot of my Cars art on there. Sometimes it's goofy little gags or my possum little goofy gags. And my webcomics are on Tapas. It's a yellow kind of outlet with a little black ink doodle character on it. If you're on the App Store and need to find some time to kill, there's a lot of great webcomics on there, but mine are on there too. So that's what we're honing in on. I'm under Professor Bees on there as well, but if you want to just type in the title of my comics, it's My Kiwi Crush or Mountain Strawberry.
Yeah, remember
My Kiwi Crush is the one that's the high school, like, fish out of water in New Zealand, also werewolf. Mountain Strawberry is the one where it's the plot of Cars, but I plucked them out and put them in the Wild West, and they are gay.
Yep. I was gonna
That's
say
what you gotta remember.
I was gonna say, and remember the name Mountain Strawberry, because I don't think you can type in Cars fucking and find the results that you're looking for.
No, they don't allow that.
Do you have any?
I already.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just to say they already like tried to stop me once. Like, you can't have a bare ass on there. It's like, dang it.
That's why you have
I tried to see what I could get away with, and they're like, no. No hint at it at all.
That's why you have to go also to Professor B's Patreon, so you can see that the spicy stuff on there as well.
Yeah, cars have butts in my Patreon, and only you can give me money to have access to it.
Here you go. Do you have any final words before we sign off?
No, not really. I feel like I will talk forever if I'm not given a cutoff. It's like, I'll talk forever. Pretty much, I take anything and I'll just latch onto it. But if you have a passion, folks, if maybe you need like some help of like, oh, I have an idea, but I don't know where to go from it. That's exactly how I started. Like, find an idea, even if it be like, just a total whim. Do it and see what comes of it. And if not, then you don't have to work on it. But if you want to have more fun with it, then keep digging and keep, seeing where it can go from there, how it can evolve. Because you can see like how I started with like not paying attention to my teachers to suddenly I'm drawing anime versions of Cars.
Yep.
They're my OCs now, so make of it as you will.
There you go.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. With that, all I have left to say is for the people at home, hasta luego, mi amigos.
Good night.
Tell me what's wrong, tell me it's parts in motion. Sing me a song, tell me your eyes can open. Show me it all, pick me up in the car you drove when you used to call. Show me it all.
Thank you so much for sticking around to the end. If this is your first time listening, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Especially with how interesting of an episode this one was. No, I'm seriously joking. I know I said it at the end of the episode, but like despite the crap I seem to be giving Bees throughout or whatnot, sincerely, they are an incredible artist. And Bees, if you've made it up to this point, sincerely, thank you again and again for taking the time to sit down and chat. Our conversation was a fun one that I sincerely hope everyone else did enjoy, and I seriously cannot get enough of your art, and I cannot wait to see what's next. It's incredible the kind of art that I get exposed to sometimes. Like I said, Tipsy was the one that introduced me to Bees, and so to see how much of a different style and just how much of a different storytelling that Bees is able to implement with her stuff, it makes me excited to learn more about that stuff. I always enjoy learning about new artists, new art forms, new ways, new stories that they're telling. It gets me excited. It gets me amped. That's part of the reason why I have this podcast for you guys. This is why I like to present this stuff to you. It's letting me exude my excitement for this stuff for you guys. And today's episode is no exception to that. It was an interesting conversation, but it was one that I do not regret having whatsoever. And I sincerely hope that I get to have several more. Especially with some of the conversations I have lined up for you guys. They are hefty, to put it mildly. I got some really good conversations in the works. And seeing like the love and passion that they shared for their stuff, just like the love and passion Bees had for the stuff that she holds dear to her. It's that thing that, again, I love showcasing that as much as I can, and I'm thankful for each and every single one of the fans out there that is also enjoying that excitement and love and passion and giving it back. I said this last week, but I'll say it again this week. Love and support should be the foundation of this community, for everyone. And I sincerely hope that, episodes like this, I sincerely hope that artists that are looking for that opportunity and such, I hope that you all get that love and passion you deserve to keep going and do more incredible stuff, because I want to see more of that incredible stuff. I want to continue to be excited for all the new stuff that I'm seeing out there. Keep doing incredible work. You're doing a fantastic job. Please keep it up.